Welcome, everyone, to episode 21 of the You Can't Comp This NBA Trading Card podcast. I'm your co-host, Adam Amy, joined as always, well, not always, but most of the time, by Russell Gibson. Russell, how are you on this lovely Sunday?
Beautiful, mate. I'm very good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm back. I missed last week, but by the sound of things, you had a great time.
It was great. Kalila was really interesting to talk to. And I think also too, the conversation probably went a lot further than what we were both anticipating. We're sort of talking offline.
Yep.
Maybe it would be 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And then it got to an hour. We're sort of like, well, actually, we need to probably...
I was waiting for the week off. It'd be like part two. But I do look. If we do get Khalil back on the show, I'm sure I'll have a couple of questions to.
Yeah, look, I'm sure he'll come back because
it'd be great.
I think he really enjoyed himself, and I think I can speak for him on this actually because he has agreed to sponsor the show. So
big news, breaking news.
Yeah, and I can't tell you how excited I am about this because for a couple of reasons, I think it really does speak a little bit of the time and the effort we have put into this, mate. So congratulations to you because you've put a lot of time into this, and I think to get someone like Khalil and Slabbed Cards to come on board, who are a homegrown Aussie company and they're sort of carving their own little niche out of it. I think that was really important to me too, that we sort of had a sponsor that, fit our values, and I'm just absolutely ecstatic to have these guys come on board with us. And
it's definitely something I didn't expect so soon.
Yeah, definitely.
Look, I've heard the episode, had nothing but positive things to say about it. But
yeah, man, thank you.
Look, thank you to Slabbed.
Yep.
Yeah, it's very humbling, and it just really, it goes to show that the work we've been putting in and the content that we've been putting out there is being heard, and now it's nice to have a sponsor on board.
Yeah, definitely. So let's do the ad, hey? So Slabbed Cards, they specialize in card grading for PSA and SGC. They're also authorized PSA dealers. Their card grading begins from $54.95. The $54.95 includes full insurance and secure storage, and Khalil spoke a lot about this last week. They have 2 tons of bank grade safes, 24-hour surveillance on their building, and they're in a guarded, monitored building. So that's a huge selling point for them. And that was something that was very important to Khalil, was the insurance side of it, and also, how your cards will be stored.
That's it. Yeah. Well, the security side of it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All cards are scanned on arrival and are available to you to view. Your scans at any time. There's automatic progress notifications, and there's complete submission tracking from start to finish. So their website is slabbed.com.au. But just a small note on that, it's spelled SLABD.
Yep. I remember that last week. They don't have an E in the word slabbed, but yeah.
Or another B too. It's a single B. So
oh wow. The internet.
60 Weymouth Street in Adelaide. So they are local boys to Australia. So
if
you're in that area, go down and say hi to Khalil and mention the podcast too. I'm sure he'll be happy to hear that.
Yeah, I was going to say, mention that you heard about Slabbed on the show, and you'll get a big smile from the guys at Slabbed, probably. There's no cross-promotion just yet, but you never know.
What have we got on the agenda this week, mate?
This week, we've got a few discussion points. There's some players would like to have a little bit of a look at as far as their performance. We've got Porzingis up on the block. We've got Jayson Tatum.
Yeah.
And I believe that we're going to do a little bit of a team breakdown of a couple of NBA teams this week. We've got somebody at the pointy end of the playoff picture and a team that might feature come playoffs. We don't know. We don't know the result of the play-in tournament yet. So some Clippers action and some Suns, all Western Conference this week.
I think what you said then is very true. You just don't know what's going to happen this season. It's so open, and I think I've really enjoyed watching basketball this year. I think there's been some really good quality games, like the Bucks-Nets game, which was just gone this week.
Yeah.
Both teams, you could definitely tell, were just playing their absolute hearts out. Giannis played 38 minutes. Durant was just, he was balling out. So I think with the way that the seedings, or should I say the standings, are currently at, and the effect that's going to have on the seedings, you can really tell that, teams are trying their best at the moment. And I feel like maybe in years gone past, when it gets to the end of the year, teams have already packed it in, and Orlando's packed it in this year. But the majority of teams are
Yeah,
actually
true.
still out there, putting in effort. And for me, it's just so good. Like the games have been great this year. So
Yeah, look, like not all the games. I'm going to say I'm a little bit disappointed with my team, but
man, I actually think we should have a ban on the Lakers from this episode. Like they don't deserve to be mentioned in.
we should talk about the other LA team because they're
Yeah,
going crazy good at the moment, and they've
yeah,
just got a star player back.
yeah,
It's scary, the playoff picture at the moment. You're right. There's a lot of good basketball happening,
yeah,
but there's a chance that the NBA Finals, and I'm saying it's a slim chance, the NBA Finals could be two teams that had to get into the playoffs through the play-in tournament.
yeah. And I
How
think
crazy is that?
that's how competitive the league is at the moment, though.
Yeah. Yep.
That to me is super cool. So, and the two teams that you're saying, who are you talking about? Because you can't be talking about the Lakers.
No, I'm talking about the other. Do I have to? I don't like talking about the Clippers. Are the
Yeah.
first one. They've just had Paul George return, and look, I've heard the rumor mill
Talk to
that
me.
there might be, if they do favorably in the play-in tournament,
Yeah.
that a certain Kawhi Leonard might be able to make an appearance in the playoffs. So
Yeah.
the question is how unhealthy is Kawhi, and does that make them legitimately the potentially one of the favorites in the West?
Yeah.
Like you get PG and Kawhi back, that's a very different team to a ninth seed, or sneaking into the eighth or seventh seed team.
Yeah.
Like play-in tournament team versus championship contender.
Yeah. Look,
Yeah.
I think if the Clippers are going to make a deep run, they need Leonard back and they need him in game shape. And I think that to me
Yeah.
is a really big ask. But
Yep.
I would also say too, what's fun about this year, you can go through 10 teams in the, say 5 teams in the West and 5 teams in the East, and you can talk yourself in and out of each team for saying, yes, this team's going to win the championship, or no, this team isn't. And I think, again, that's really exciting. Like, like the Nuggets are the same thing. You can
It's
almost put the
true.
Lakers into that. The Brooklyn Nets are in that space. The Timberwolves are sort of in that space too. Like the
It's
Cavs, the
crazy.
Grizzlies, I could literally argue, both sides for all of those teams, and just off the top of my head. So I think I've just had an absolute, being an NBA atheist, I've just had an absolute ball this year. It's just been really, really good basketball. So
Yeah.
let's kick off. Where do you want to start this week, mate?
Do we want to start with all right, there's something they've put on the run sheet here. I need to check this out.
Talk to me.
I've got zero cool.
Yeah. So
no, we're not talking about this again, are we?
No, we can skip it if you want, but I think
like this thing is legitimately gaining traction, or is it?
Look, I'm not going to lie to you. This has been in my mind space way more than what A, I was expecting, and B, that I care about. And so I think, I just really want to do sort of just like a quick, check up on it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What I'll do, we'll have a quick look.
So I put the Card Ladder link in there. If you look at the 3
I'm on
months,
Card Ladder now. Let's have a look at this. Is this a 3-month trajectory?
Yeah, so the 3 and the 1 month trajectory is actually exactly the same. So if you look at the 1 month and the 2 week trajectory, it's probably, to be honest, what you would expect, because it's got this, really nice big peak here. So it peaked at 14 and a bit thousand.
Yeah.
The last sold price was 8,000, but keeping in mind it originally opened up at 2,000. So it opened
at
huge
2K.
growth. Yeah.
Yeah, we peaked up there. It dipped a bit. It peaked again.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you look at the last 2 weeks, though, and this is probably what I was, beginning to expect now, you can see it sort of slowly trickling down from sort of a little bit less than 14K, and it's down to 8 now. So, I mean, but also keep this in mind too. If you picked it up for 2 and you've just flipped it for 8, you've still 4x'd your money. So these people, I'm still going to say the same thing. Congratulations, you guys have just like hit a home run. So,
yeah, I don't think you'd be disappointed if you bought it for 2 and sold it for 8. If you bought it for 10 and it was now at 8, you might be a bit.
Yeah, that's a different.
It might be a bit dubious, but look, it's. I don't know. It's a tricky one, isn't it?
So, did you read that article that Al flicked through to you?
No.
Okay,
no.
Maybe we should put that up on socials, because there's probably other people that are sitting in the same position where I am. Like, you don't really understand it that well, but you kind of know it's a thing. So I've just been trying to read up a little bit more about it. And
yeah,
I think what has sort of come clearer into my mind is how this is more of a pop culture phenomenon, and it's either something you do understand or you don't. It's literally as simple as that.
Okay.
And
Is this because I know Al's talked a lot about NFTs and
yeah,
the space that Gary V operates currently.
exactly. Yeah.
And look, I'm not going to call a spade a spade. He's great at marketing and he's great at creating that.
Well, that's what Khalil said last week. He's like the hype master, and you get FOMO just listening to what he says. So
it's like, I need to get on this ASAP. I need to be quick, smart. I need to jump in. Yeah. I need to do my research and I need to get it.
Yeah. What's interesting to me at the moment, though, he's actually spruiking at the moment the next season of his NFT, so the digital version. And I think, sometimes I'm being like a bit paranoid here, but I'm sure my phone listens to me and then it like feeds it back into some algorithm. Then it pops up because now at the moment I'm getting all this Gary V.
I guarantee you that is not that's not a conspiracy
it's not paranoia,
theory.
Yeah,
that's
real,
actually what's happening.
Yeah. So at the moment, my Twitter is just filled up with all these like Gary V NFTs, and like you can see the the retweets and the likes on it. Like it's a real thing. So
it's a thing. It's a hype train.
I think again, I think buying at 14K, that to me is just treacherous. This is pretty much what I'm just saying last week, but to see this sort of 40% dip in the last 2 weeks, I'm not shocked by this at all. I think this is probably going to keep on going, to be honest, and it'll probably settle around the 3,000 mark or something like that.
I'm curious because of the way Gary V operates and the way collectibles work.
Yeah.
When season 4 or 5, depending how long this lasts, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But when these V friends or whatever they are come down the track, so 2 years from now, for argument's sake, if it explodes, what is season 1 worth?
Yeah, and I would probably say that's a reasonable point because classic example is UFC Prism.
Yep,
that's sold for double the price what this is currently selling at the moment, and so
he's a hype master. Like it's tricky.
I think first year products traditionally do better than second and third year stuff.
Yep. So if it's still around in a couple of years, then it might be something that you go, you know what?
You could stash and put away for a rainy day.
You could also stash it, put it away, and they'll be like, you spent money on that thing. Like, you know what I mean? In a decade's time when no one knows who Gary V is.
Yeah, and there's heaps of stuff that come and go.
Not to say that we won't.
Yeah.
But, like, in 30 years, there'll be the next Gary V, not Gary V. And he won't be spruiking Gary's product.
Yeah.
So it could go one of two ways, and I don't know. I think it'll be interesting. Time will tell.
Yeah.
And maybe I don't know, 6 months, a year, we check back and see what that roller coaster looks like.
That is actually a good point because when I'm making big purchases, and look, I'm not rolling with like big spenders, but big in my mind, I do ask myself the 25-year question: is this player going to be relevant in 20 years? Is this card going to be relevant in 20 years? So I suppose that's that question does also stand true with V Friends, doesn't it? So
I suppose this a fad that is going to be on some random Netflix special.
If you're asking me, is this going to be around in 25 years? I'll say no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I'm expecting it to be a segment on one of those Netflix series where like, what is it? The toys that shaped us or whatever, the toys that made, you know what I mean? Where they talk about fads through the years.
Yeah.
And you go, oh my God, I was alive for that. I remember that. That was amazing. Or I still have one of those.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, people paid $14,000 for them. 3 years later, they were worth 14 cents after the great economic collapse of 2023 or something.
Oh,
do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's but look, I could say the same. Michael Jordan rookies could plummet in value for some stupid reason. We're in cancel culture. Jordan might do something wrong. I kid. I don't think an athlete like Jordan could be cancelled.
No,
just on
he's
the
got
quiet.
Too much social equity, hasn't he?
He does. He is. Yeah, that logo could be the next logo of the NBA. Let's be real.
Yeah. Let's move on.
Let's talk about something else.
Can we put Zero Cool to bed now? Is that it? We've done this. We're not going to do it again. Is that fair to say?
Can we do it again at Christmas?
Yeah. Okay.
When we talk about Christmas gift ideas,
we'll check Zero
in.
Cool. Yeah.
We'll check it in, and we'll go. Hey, look, what are we looking? Kris Kringle presents. Is it $15 a box or is it 15,000 a box?
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about someone else on the run sheet. He's been on a tear this year. Jayson Tatum from the
Yeah.
Boston Celtics.
Yeah, I think that's actually a good place to go, mate.
It is?
I think so. So what's your thoughts on Tatum at the moment?
I think Jayson Tatum is a superstar.
Interesting.
Flat out born superstar.
Yeah.
He had that spattering of games where he was averaging in the 40s or something like that.
Yeah.
He does. Yeah, it's, I don't know. He's just got superstar DNA written all through his early stages of his career. He just
Yeah.
seems like he's that ready-built
Yeah.
star, and he likes the big moments. Like it's interesting. It's interesting that he doesn't get the spotlight as much as other people, I guess, in the league, and that could be due to Boston's success or lack thereof.
I think my sort of long-term feeling about Tatum was that, like what you said then, there was always an expectation that he was going to become a superstar.
Yeah.
And then my sort of gut feeling was, I'll see it when I see it.
Yeah.
And so I always felt his cards, to be honest, were a little bit overpriced. And I think they were priced in for when he became a superstar. But I never really felt that I was ready to pay those prices for his cards, because I was never really too sure when it was going to be there. Like, did he have enough sort of bad boy in him to, really get after people? Did he have enough, development there to increase his handle enough? And was he going to be a good enough 3-point shooter? And, for me, there was always...
This is true, yeah.
The talent was there. Like, I agree with you. Like, definitely you could see that it was there, but, was he going to put it all together? And probably that was, the part that I wasn't too sure about. And then I think the way that they started this year, like, he was actually down a little bit at the start of the year because they had that really terrible start.
Yeah, Boston did not start well.
And as it turns out, Udoka is probably one of the best top 3, or if not the best young coach in the league now, because he's established himself as an extremely good coach. He set the culture right in less than a season, which you were probably not too sure if Boston was going to get that right. Like, being honest.
Yeah, I thought they were, honestly, I thought that they were about to hit a big dip.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And I think probably what's come out now too is about Brad Stevens and how that he'd lost the locker room and that they needed a different voice in there. And it turns out that's what they needed, was basically Udoka just telling these guys that they were too soft and they're not playing basketball the right way. And they've responded really well. They've been the second or third best team post All-Star break.
Yeah.
Their last 10 games, they're 7-3, and they're currently third in the East, but it's so fluid at the top. They could go from third to first in 2 games. So
I was going to say it's the East is tight. I mean,
it's very,
playoff
very
race
tight.
is very tight.
Yeah, but for them to be third in the East, I think even if you're an optimist, you would probably have not expected them to be, third or second in the East. So they've...
Yeah, I didn't expect them with home court in the first round of the playoffs.
Exactly,
that's for sure.
They've outwardly, exceeded their expectations. So probably, what's your take on him? Like, is he a buy for you, a sell for you, or hold for you? Where do you sit with Tatum?
Tatum at the moment, I still think he's a reasonable price.
Interesting. Yeah.
I still think the rocket hasn't left the atmosphere.
Yeah.
We're not in the outer orbit. But seriously, you want to be looking at those. Once again, I know I harp on about it, but the pop reports and things like that.
Yeah, sure.
You don't want to be going to buy base.
Okay.
Like, you want to be like, what have I got? I've got
what have you got up at the moment?
I've got the silver up. The silver's up 15%. Last sold price was $1,300.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the base. Okay, so there was a bit of a peak a few days ago with the base.
But
just last sold $260.
Just go back 2 seconds though to silver though. So the pop on that is $752.
That's correct.
10 on the silver. Yeah. So then look at the pop on the base, because I think this actually
illustrates your...
Yes, and I think that illustrates your point really well. So I think if you're narrowing it down between silver and base, obviously there's a price consideration that's significant, but I think your point is very valid in that spot there, that the pop count is dramatically different on silver to base. And I think this a lot about 17-18 product. In many ways, I think sealed 17-18 is probably still a little bit underpriced. And the reason I think that is because after 17-18, I don't have any numbers for this, but this is just a gut feeling I've got. I think that there was an exponential increase in print runs. And You could look
Yep.
at that in terms of, how much retail's been made available. You could look at then, the introduction of Tmall.
Yep.
You can look at it, the introduction of sort of like, more fast break products and all those sort of hybrid products that they released and extra
It's
choice
true.
products. It's just everything, the print runs are increased. So
Well, 17-18, wasn't that the first time that retail was sort of in Prism? The Prism went down the retail.
no, I don't think so, because the year before that there was Blasters in Prism, and definitely there was Blasters the year before that. The
Oh,
year before
Blaster,
that,
sure, but I mean actually, you could buy the box of 24 or 20 packs Prism retail.
I think we better fact check this maybe
Yeah, I might have
probably
to go on
next
back.
week. Yeah,
I'm sure that's the year.
yeah,
Is that it's the same? Yeah, I think it is. Anyway, I'm not
yeah.
100% sure. I think it is,
I
but
think the
you're
best
right.
way
Like
to remember
population.
I think the best way to remember 17-18 is when we could still buy boxes from David Adams and you could open them without stressing about return on investment. I think that's, you know what I mean? That's what I remember about
Yeah, where
17-18.
you
Yeah.
could use some of your loose change to actually buy a box of basketball cards.
Yeah. You could get a box of fast break for, less than $100 Aussie.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. And that was, that was awesome. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's why I just, for some reason, that's the year I remember as a retailer being able to purchase Prism retail.
Yeah.
By a local supplier. I'm like, what do you mean retail? Great, this will be fantastic. I can get some boxes of that. And I do. That was cost price was very reasonable, and that was a very long time ago. It feels.
So
It doesn't feel like 5 years. It feels like 50. But anyway,
his silvers are up 15% and his base is up 30%.
yes.
I'm actually a little bit surprised around that because, again, my gut feeling before was that his stuff was probably a little bit, priced up for this, moment in time. And I was maybe expecting people to sort of dump and, put stuff out in the market now that he has been playing so well. And I actually think he should be in the MVP conversation. So despite the fact that I do think he's still a little bit overpriced, I actually think at the moment he is a buy, because if he's in the MVP conversation and they have, a round 2 or a round 3 playoff run, which is not out of the picture in the East, because again, we've just said, how wide open it is. I still think he's got a little bit of room to move there.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
to follow that on, if you buy now and you hold on for the next couple of years, yes, of course, you're going to see the, the natural sort of peaks and troughs that you see with, off season and yada, yada and injuries. But he has the pedigree and he's actually now shown that he can stand up to the moment, and probably too, where I felt that he wasn't going to be able to develop was that sort of on-court leadership and defensive ability and also getting to the bucket. He somehow ticked all of those 3 things in 1 year. So
Yeah.
I think
I think he's a buy.
Yeah.
I'm on the buy. I think he hasn't. There's no rocket. There's no steep explosion for his cards. And look, that might just not be how his career pans out. But I don't think he's plummeting anytime soon.
Well, what would the reason be that he would plummet? I think
Career-ending knee injury.
he's not particularly injury prone, though.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Traded?
I don't think that will be the worst thing if he was traded.
Nah, maybe. But these are. I think he's a born superstar, and he's on that basis. I think he's destined for a very, very a good career.
Yeah,
it might boil down to lack of success on the big come playoffs. The Celtics haven't done well in the playoffs, so you sort of say, where is his? Does he have what it takes to get them over the line?
I mean, to be devil's advocate about what you just said then, about them not having much success recently, I think that is also a little bit relative, because if you think about it, they won a championship. And so most teams, after they win championships, they're old and they do have to go through like a retooling process.
When was the last Boston championship?
With KG and Pierce.
Yeah, I was going to say that was I know it feels recent, but 2008 was it?
But
I know.
Reloaded the way that they did, and
true.
also be back in essentially a position to contend again with a young core. Like, I think,
they've come back. I just feel like they had their runs with Stevens.
Yeah, they did.
Then they had this they had draft picks, they had superstars.
Yeah, and they had Kyrie and they had Hayward, and there's a lot of what ifs. I agree with that 100%. But I would also say too, if you sit back and look at where that team
They're
has
still ready
been.
for another run. You're right.
Yeah, and they're
You've got a
still
point.
young,
Yeah.
and like Tatum's still young, Jaylen Brown's still young. Marcus Smart's definitely not over the hill.
That's one mistake they haven't made yet,
What's this?
getting rid of Brown. If they do that, that's a critical mistake. They've been very patient,
Yeah,
and it works. They need to keep both players.
yeah,
Unfortunately, I think that destroys Jaylen Brown's value over the years.
yeah,
And
definitely.
I think he is another superstar that is in the shadows of Tatum.
Yeah,
But that's a different chat for a different episode.
yeah, sure.
This is Jayson Tatum, and he is the number one guy in Boston.
Yeah,
It's his job to either work with Brown or whoever, but to get them over that hurdle and have a serious playoff run.
yeah,
And this year they're positioning themselves quite well, as you said, currently sitting in the third seed.
yeah. Look, I'm personally not high on the Boston Celtics as a team. I actually think, to me, the best and the highest possible outcome they could be would be, say, like the Philadelphia 76ers with Iverson, Eric Snow, Aaron McKee, and they went to the finals and they lost. I think currently that's their highest ceiling.
Look, as a Lakers fan, I'd like to support that and say that I'd like to see them lose constantly and not win another title.
And the reason I say that is because I think they're a really, really good defensive team. Again, like very similar to Philly. But I think where they're going to struggle is manufacturing and generating a consistent amount of points to put onto the board. And yes, Tatum's going to have 45 points, maybe a 50-point night, 30, 35, blah, blah, blah. But you know what I mean? Is that going to be enough to get them, over the top? I just don't think they've got enough juice. So
maybe not this year, but I definitely think they're one big piece off.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was going to say next.
They hit the right big piece.
Yeah, they pick up one or two more pieces in the offseason, and yeah, definitely. Yeah.
As long as it's not like someone that's going to fight for that 3 spot.
Yeah.
The same position as Brown and Tatum. So they need, I don't know, another big man, point guard. I don't know.
Yeah.
They know what they need.
Any final thoughts on Tatum before we move on?
No. Let's move on. Who do we want to look at next?
I want to do Kristaps Porzingis, because the trade deadline has come and gone.
Yep.
And I think he was somebody that was moved, and of course it was a headline, but he's also sort of been moved out of the spotlight, and he's gone off to Washington now. The other thing that's happened in Dallas too is actually they've been playing really well post the Porzingis trade. And Dinwiddie's hit a couple of big shots. But if you look a little bit closer at Porzingis, because a part of my mind was, did they trade this guy because he's chronically injured and not going to get better? Or did they trade this guy because he just doesn't fit with Luka and or Luka's personality? And I'm actually now in the latter of that. Because if you
I think it's always been a chemistry thing.
Yeah. If you watch him play in Washington, he is just playing really good basketball. And I'd also say, too, he's playing very free basketball. It almost seems like a weight's been lifted off his shoulders. He's got a lot of room to move, and he feels free. I know I keep sort of saying the same thing, but it's just the best way to say it.
I suppose to analyze it, though, Washington aren't in the playoff picture.
No.
They're not playing for a title.
They're not.
They're not throwing their hat in the ring and basically going, we're going to make you the number 2 guy to our future. And if he doesn't like you, it's your fault.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of pressure going to Dallas. And look, there was a lot on Porzingis' shoulders. There were a lot of assumptions that he would gel. And early days, it looked like he did with Luka.
Yeah.
But clearly, obviously, that didn't work. And that's where things sort of spiraled out of control, to the point where they you're right, they had to trade him.
Yeah, and I think maybe to be, look, I'm not defending Porzingis, but I'm saying if you look at this pragmatically, was he used correctly? And then how much did Lucas spitefully hold this dude back? Like, I'm beginning to really have these thoughts now.
Oh.
So look, his numbers in Washington are this: 22 points per game.
Yep.
1.6 blocks, 0.8 steals, so just about close enough to 1.
Gets a steal every night, yeah.
They're really good defensive numbers. 3.1 assists, so that's really good playmaking, particularly for a big. 8.4 rebounds. Look, I would probably hope for 10 from him, but 8.5 is not terrible.
You want 20 and 10 from a big like him, but sure.
86% from the free throw line, 54% on 2-pointers, and 32% on 3. So again, you'd hope that will be, 33, 34%, but, that's still, it's not terrible. It's in 14 games. He's only playing 28 minutes a game. And that actually, I haven't got his 36 minutes per game stats in front of me, but at the same time, that's really good numbers, I think. And I would also say too, this season for Washington is not something they're particularly trying to win. So I'm not surprised he's only playing 28 minutes. I think if they were really trying to win, he'd be playing 38 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So, I think that has something to say about that. And I think the other reason why I think Porzingis is really interesting is because his prices are so low, it's just not funny. So I feel like his price to performance ratio is just completely out of whack here. So in terms of buy, sell, and hold, I'm putting this guy as a buy with an A+ next to it. So
now, well, I've got Card Ladder up at the moment.
Yeah, talk to me.
And so looking at his, we'll say Silver Prism to start with.
Yeah, why don't we start at silver, because he's sort of in that price range where it's not outrageous to put money down on him for a silver.
Yep. So PSA 10, obviously doesn't quite have the numbers that someone like a Tatum would have.
No, but
population of 153 10s out there, PSA 10s.
Yeah.
Right. Recently we've had a growth of 30%.
Yeah.
10 sales, and the last sold price was $168.50 US. So
even after a 30% bump, I still feel okay with this.
Yeah, like he's at like 170 US is not ridiculous pricing.
He's only 26 years old.
Yeah, he's got a while. He's got a lot longer to play.
Yeah, I think I think I've sort of spoken about this before too. Sometimes like the most obvious things are right in front of your eyes. Sometimes I'm trying to prospect and I'm trying to make things hard for myself, and I'm trying to find like a Zeke Naji. It's like, why didn't I just spend that money on Porzingis?
Yeah.
Do you know what
I
I mean?
Like, that's a fair
why
point.
did I buy, the bulk like Naji I've been buying? So I think, I'm really high on this at the moment. Like, if I had to choose between the two, like you asked me to choose between the two of Tatum and Porzingis, I think for the price of 168, I'm buying Porzingis. So,
all right. So a secondary question.
Yeah, hit me.
All right. So we'll go to his base. Last sold for $45.
Yeah.
Prism PSA 10.
Yeah.
Population 1,274. So not a lot. We're not talking Luka Zion numbers.
No.
$50 or 45 US.
Yeah.
Do you buy?
Look, you definitely can. I think this is a budget dependent question, but I think when you're buying a prospect like this, again, who's 26 years old, who is clearly not injured, like that was like one of the big questions that I had for him, is like when he was leaving Dallas, is this dude being dumped because he can't play anymore?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that's the case.
I don't think it's his skills. I think it's his fit.
Yeah, and that's right. And I don't think it's an injury thing either. So I think, buying someone like this at 168, I feel totally fine about this. So
comfortable with that.
Yeah.
So what do you say to the people out there that don't say we don't have a lot of money to their name? Seeing people with Porzingis rookies go up on some card sales.
Yeah, sure.
Talking like PSA 10s or anything.
Yeah.
But we go, you know what? If you see good value on a Porzingis rookie, do you snatch it up?
Are you asking me to buy raw?
Yeah, would you buy him raw?
Yeah.
Or would you just buy graded?
The thing at the moment with buying raw cards, so let's just use Porzingis as an example.
Which is probably an interesting example.
This will be my strategy at the moment, because the problem with buying cards raw with the intention to flip them over into PSA or BGS or SGC for that matter, now that we've had slabbed cards come on board.
Yep.
The price that it costs you to grade currently, that to me changes the risk profile again too much. So for someone, for example, that you're buying for 168 USD silver PSA 10, to be honest, I think you're just better off just buying that particular card already graded. And I would say the same thing about base. However, if you're asking me about a numbered rookie card that's raw, I would try my best to, look at photos as closely as I could before I purchased it, and then I would just put that into my, my PC, or I'd put that into my, future trades box, because
good point. I think that's I think that's a very very good point you've made. That it's not necessarily. Like I've talked about this in prior weeks. Like you're talking about a card. If you're spending less than $100 for a PSA 10,
Yeah.
then you're probably getting your money's worth
Yeah.
because it's going to cost you that $100 to get a raw one graded.
Particularly for a 10, right?
And particularly for a 10, because 9 times out of 10, you're going to pay $100, you're going to send the card off, it's going to come back with a number that's not 10 on it.
Yeah, and as heartbreaking as that is, that's also the truth. Like it's actually
Yep.
quite difficult to get 10. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's so yeah, good solid advice. I just don't see a lot of difference between the base. Even we'll just say buying the 10s. If you don't have that like 170 US, the base is not a bad price.
Yeah, I think the base is still low enough in price that it's still got some potential to move up.
Correct.
And the interesting thing about the base is if you look at the sales over the last 3 months, they're up and down like a yo-yo. So you can be quite patient and put in a low bid and then wait for it to come back because it's fluctuated from $26 all the way up to $55. So essentially that's like
whereas the silver, yeah,
100% right there, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you see a bit of a spike, but then it just plateaus for a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I think for who he is, his physicality, the position he's now in with that roster, because the funny thing about Washington is I don't think they particularly tank. I just think they've had bad teams and a little bit of bad luck. So you could also argue that this team is ready to turn the corner next year. And if that's the case and he's playing a starting role, which I think he will be, Bradley Beal comes back and he's playing all NBA basketball again and say Hachimura kind of like increases his game by 20% and, Denny keeps playing the way he does, that's probably enough to get that team into the playoffs.
Let's be real. Kuzma's been going off tap this year as well.
Yeah.
There's a few players there that have got a chip on their shoulder and ready to sort of
it's not outrageous to think
that
this team could sort of come back next year and be, pretty good. So,
True.
Yeah, I'm super high on this guy and I think we should probably leave it there because I just keep saying I'm super high on this guy.
That's it. We'll end up just getting and be like Porzingis, get on it. Who's the next player we want to?
Yeah, so Davion Mitchell, this is a little bit of the same vein of Porzingis. So this is a little bit post-trade deadline, review. There's been enough games. There's been enough things happening. And so obviously the Kings cleared the deck in their backcourt, trading away Halliburton to the Pacers.
Yep.
And that has definitely created more opportunity for Davion Mitchell. The other thing that's happened recently is De'Aaron Fox has been out injured. So he's been running amok. He's had run of everything. So he's been playing really good basketball the last few games. I think the thing that really stands out to me with Davion Mitchell is his defensive ability because he just gets after guys. And he's a little bit the same way as Draymond, where sometimes it feels like he controls the game with his defense.
Yep.
So that's really intriguing for me. The funny thing about Davion Mitchell is he doesn't have any stats on Card Ladder.
Does not at all.
Yeah. So in terms of tracking his ups and downs, there's nothing. I can't give you percentages, but I would personally say he's moving up because I've been bidding on a bit of Mitchell. I like Kings cards, so I've been buying a bit of Mitchell stuff this year, and it's definitely getting harder to get. So I think probably Fox being out, there's been a little bit more attention on him. So if you're looking to make a quick flip, you've probably missed the window a little bit.
Yeah.
But in saying that, he's not a top shelf prospect, so you're still going to get some some nice value for some nice cards. Like I'm just looking at one at the moment. It's a Donruss Choice Mojo, which they are absolutely beautiful cards. If you don't have one of those in your collection, even if it's a low end, just try and get one. One sold for $15.50 recently. So
there's a lot of value to be had on eBay at the moment.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on Mitchell, mate?
Look, I'm really, really high on the idea that I suppose misfortune is only misfortune to the individual that's suffering it.
Yeah.
Look, Mitchell's been sort of gifted an opportunity here.
Yeah.
By the Kings, and it's good. It's really good. It's unfortunate that your boy Fox is one of the unfortunate ones. But
I don't think it's going to be a career-ending injury for him, so I'm not stressed in that space at all. And to be honest, his prices have come down even more. So I'm just keeping on buying.
Just buy that because I thought this was his time to shine and really, really sort of rise. But But hey, look, Mitchell's going to have his time in the sun now. He'll get his
Yeah.
opportunity. This is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Couldn't
I
agree
think
more.
Fox will get that time sort of hopefully once he recovers. Yeah, I think it's one of those things where you've got to take your opportunities, and Mitchell's definitely done that. And it's starting to show, which is good. Really, really good opportunity to sort of cash in on an opportunity more than anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting one. It's those little. It's like, oh, someone's been given a chance. What do you do with that? Like as a collector, what do you do?
Yeah. Look,
Do you look for little spikes and do you try and make some value, or?
I think at the moment PYT prices probably haven't adjusted quite yet in real time to sort of like his bump in his after sale value. So I think if you're looking at Kings at the moment, I still think they're not bad value. So
Okay.
But do I think by the time it rolls around to Prism that hasn't adjusted? I probably think it will have by that point in time.
Yeah, sort of like that market correction has already
Yeah.
happened. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think at the moment, Kings are probably, a little bit undervalued in PYTs, but yeah, moving into the future, that's probably going to change. But I think probably at the end of the day for me, there's probably better prospects to buy in PYTs if you're just looking at return on investment, just for the fact that Mitchell isn't a sure thing.
Yeah.
In the space of he's already sharing a backcourt with De'Aaron Fox. So I think pragmatically, if Mitchell is going to take off and have, sustained hobby value, they're going to have to play in the backcourt and start together at the same time. And the question is can Fox defend twos? Because I don't think Mitchell has the body to defend twos. Despite the fact he's the better defender, I don't think he's got enough of it. And I probably think at this point of his career, Fox is a little bit bigger than what Mitchell is. So that's where I sort of sit in that space.
Yeah. And that makes sense.
Just scrolling through the cards there, is there any that's really stood out to you that you're like, oh, I wouldn't mind to have
It's
one of
more of
those in my PC?
Well, just looking at the variations, like if you can get one of those, as you said before, grabbing one of those numbered cards, like there's some really pretty variations. And I say pretty, it's probably not the right word, but the cards are like some nice holograms and some nice colored backgrounds. And you go, you know what? If it's got a low enough number on it,
You're
that's
keen.
where that's where I'd like to spend a bit of money or splash a bit of cash. Yeah.
I think just scrolling through the sold listings on eBay, probably my biggest complaint at the moment is the rookie sweaters. They're just not ugly enough. Last year they were so ugly, they were just amazingly awesome. Whereas this year they've somehow made it look just corny, and then the patches and the pictures aren't that ugly. So I'm a little bit disappointed in that. I think last year's sweaters patches out of Don Russ were just like, no, they're out of hoops. I'm lying to you.
Out of hoops.
They were the Christmas ones. They're just so good. This year I'm a little bit let down, to be honest, but I'll get over that. I probably think at the moment, look, I think Origins has done really well this year. That has just been incredibly popular. And I think, to be honest with you, part of the reason why is because the quality control has been excellent. I haven't heard one person moan and complain about receiving damaged Origins cards. And I know that sounds like a really stupid thing to say, but the classic example is Noir. So Noir is probably going to RRP for twice the price of Origins, but it's going to after sell probably for triple. And the standard listing with Noir comes with the standard white corners, whereas Origins isn't being listed like that. It's just being listed as these, sick on-card autos. So they absolutely nailed Origins this year in terms of, variety of cards, the variant card in it. And if you can pick up an Origins auto of Mitchell, I think that's a really nice addition to your PC.
Yep.
The other ones at the moment, which I know I'm in the minority of this, and I'm going to put an extremely large caveat next to this as I say this, I think the collegiate flawless stuff is really beautiful. The only caveat I'm going to attach to that is whatever you spend on this, do not think that you're going to get a return on investment from it. Traditionally, college stuff decreases in value. It doesn't increase in value. There's always exceptions to that rule, particularly when it comes to like, smaller prospects than say
Sure.
Anthony Edwards or, LaMelo Ball, something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
buy these cards because you like them. Don't buy them because you think you're going to flip them.
You
And
make some cash
it
and
just collegiate stuff doesn't work like that.
No.
And I think then the last one too is just the Mojo cards. They've been really good this year. The quality control of the Donruss choice has been, I think, 90%. I think most of it's been really good. I haven't broken a lot of this, but the stuff that I did break of it came out pretty good, actually.
Nice.
Yeah, I think we've done Mitchell, haven't we, mate?
We've done Mitchell. Let's get on to some teams.
Yeah, talk to me. You choose the team first because you're keen to do Clippers, right? Let's do Clippers.
Let's start with the Clippers.
Yeah.
Look, these guys might not be relevant in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
They might not.
Hang on a second. Why don't you tell everyone why you wanted to do the Clippers? Because I think that's really important.
Yeah, so this week we were looking at a team review, and look, you've made a valid point. The Suns are I don't know, they're at the pointy end. They're in there. They're going to be in the playoffs. This week, however, Paul George has come back from injury.
Yeah.
And the Clippers look like an absolute monster. And it's I don't know. I think they could be a sneaky favorite for the title.
Yeah.
That's pretty much where I've been sitting with this team and going, why we could be in a season, and I said this at the start of the show, where the Brooklyn Nets and the LA Clippers could be the NBA finalists. And these are both teams that are going to have to play in the play-in tournament. It's crazy. Like, it's actually crazy.
Look, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not that high on the Clippers. I think that they're going to be like first-round fodder. And
I'd like them to be, let's be real.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily think it's a guarantee.
So who do you think is the most hobby relevant on the Clippers?
Hobby relevant?
Yeah.
I've been looking up Paul George. I actually think Kawhi is. And funnily enough, he's the one that if he comes back, I put the Clippers in the box seat.
Yeah, sure. I think banking on Kawhi Leonard's health or betting on Kawhi Leonard's health, to be honest, I think that's pretty risky. Yeah. I think he's proven that even when he is healthy, the way that he load manages and rehabs constantly and, preserves his body, that he's unreliable at best, I would say. So I think in terms of hobby relevance, I agree with you. I think Kawhi Leonard is A, B, and C, like 1, 2, and 3 in terms of the most important, hobby relevance. Super interesting about Paul George, though, and I think this is probably where my knowledge of cards is, to be honest, incredibly lacking.
Okay.
I forgot that Prism wasn't even around for Paul George's rookie year.
No, it wasn't. That's the one interesting thing I found
So
while I was
when I look through his cards, there's nothing that's particularly that I'm looking at his cards. I'm like, well, what do I want to spend my money on here? Like, is Prestige the better way to go? Is that a nicer looking card than Donruss? Probably is, to be honest.
Well, the Prestige comes up, more often than not. So I'll get the...
But I think, again, asking the 25-year question in terms of players who are on the Clippers team, I don't think there's even a conversation to be had here, man. Like, it's Kawhi Leonard. The resume that he has...
He's already got the resume, right?
Yeah, it's a Hall of Fame resume. And, if you convince me that he's a top 20 player of all time, I could probably, almost be convinced, to agree with you on that. You know what I mean? Like, I think he has that type of, his resume is just amazing. So, whereas Paul George, like, he's been an all-star a couple of times and that's about it, really.
Yeah, and it's funny. I think he's a very talented basketballer, but you're right. There's no value in him as a player.
Yeah.
Like, just going through card ladder, when you got Prestige graded, PSA 10 for his rookie, $80.
But yeah, see, this is like also what makes me sort of I really struggle with this so much. So So I was just talking to you about my knowledge about, stuff 10 years ago is not that great. But if you then apply that to the general sort of card market at the moment, we're so focused on ultra modern, we don't even look back 10 years. So Paul George Prestige PSA 10, pop of 31, that's selling for $80.
Yep.
I'm actually gonna double back on what I just said. I think that's a really good buy.
That's a good buy, but you just look at there was a lack of variety when it comes to what products were available at the time. Like we're at a
Yeah,
point
but
where there was no Topps Chrome,
yeah,
right? There was no Topps Chrome and there was
yeah,
no Prism.
yeah,
Because what happens is, like after 2012, it's all Prism, Prism, Prism,
yeah.
right? The last decade has been Prism.
Oh, Prism is king, and
Before that,
there's no conversation to be had.
everybody
Yeah,
looks at the Topps Chrome,
yeah,
like the Topps rookie card. So you're in this weird space now where, like, what have we got? I've got the National Treasures RPA BGS 9.5 to 99.
yeah. Which is an excellent grade for a card like that.
Yeah, for National Treasures RPA.
Yeah.
Now, we all know that how much National Treasures costs these days. Population of 58. So, wow. Over half of them have been graded at 9.5, that means.
What does that tell you about the quality control in these days?
Yeah, there's a point. Last sold for $2,500.
Look, I'm not buying that particular card,
No,
but
no way. But
if you PC Paul George, that's
in your PC, right?
yeah, but that's a no-brainer.
$2,500 for a National Treasures RPA.
I think De'Aaron Fox is probably selling for more than that at the moment.
And that is scary.
Yeah, and he's on like a downward trajectory, and he's injured, and blah blah blah. So
That's all about
again,
recency, I guess.
yeah,
But yeah.
that's not exactly what I'm saying though. Like, actually, is this a much better buy than I'm, leading into or referring to? So
Yeah.
I think that Prestige is a really nice card. I can get behind that. I like that better than the Don Russ.
Yeah.
$80. I'm totally fine with that.
All right. So I've got Jake in the chat who has said the fact that you can get an auto of a known legend of the game cheaper than a modern auto of a player who might be great is crazy.
Yeah.
Magic Johnson autos, yeah, 1 to 200, Ja Morant 2 to 3K.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
that's fair. That's fair.
But I do agree with what he's saying with that in premise. But I think also too, maybe in this instance, he's comparing a veteran Magic auto to a rookie Ja Morant auto.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
There has to be a little bit of consideration for that.
So we're looking at rookie year versus, but still, what's a current day Ja Morant auto worth?
Actually, they're still doing pretty well. So yeah, you're probably right. Like maybe 300 or 400, 500
versus Magic Johnson. You're paying 1 to 200 for, and it's like, wow, this guy's one of the top 10 players of all time.
Well, it depends where you're. Look, the only reason actually I can answer this question is because I'm going through at the moment. I'm buying up David Robinson. I'm trying to get a Larry Bird order. I'm going through all that, and Magic's on my list. So I have been looking at a little bit of Magic. So it depends what you're looking at. So for example, Spectra, you can get one pretty cheap.
Yep.
Court Kings, that type of stuff, you can pick up a Magic auto, not so bad. But you step up into iMac, you step up into Flawless, it goes 300, 500, 800 very, very, very quickly. Okay. Ditto Larry Bird. Yeah, so I've actually been like smashed on some auctions recently, and it's actually really opened my eyes. Like there is a real hunger for people to get that stuff.
That's interesting.
I think, hang on a second, have we just had something else special happen? Thank you, Jake, for asking the question, and thanks for listening to the show.
Yeah, well, actually, he came into the Twitch chat.
Is that our first user question, listener question?
Well, it's the first listener question or comment in the live feed. So
wicked!
Shout out to Jake or MacGyver1010 on Twitch.
Did you give his real name up?
I did. I did.
Now he has to go into hiding. It's MacGyver.
I didn't tell him. I didn't say what his real surname is. They're going to have to hunt that one out.
What was MacGyver's surname?
I don't know what MacGyver was his surname, wasn't it?
It's been
Angus
too long.
MacGyver.
Oh man, it's been too long.
I've just spoiled it for everybody.
Yeah. Do you want to touch anyone else in the Clippers?
Do we want to? Oh well, it's Kawhi, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's go to Kawhi.
Sure.
Kawhi Leonard. He's actually dipped a little bit, and this is probably the injury thing.
That's fair enough. He's dipped, man. He hasn't played for 12 months.
Yeah, he's sort of been off for a little while, but it hasn't. I don't know. We're looking at currently base PSA 10 of his what is it? The 2012 Prism, which didn't have the rookie, the RC logo on it. just as a little tidbit.
Yeah.
So a lot of people that might have rookie cards that don't know they're rookie cards. This is how I found my Kawhi Leonard rookie card.
Does that, so if you're trying to buy someone's rookie card and it doesn't have the rookie logo on it, does that put you off?
Ooh, there's a question. Because Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, they're all from this rookie class. There's a few in this year.
So, yeah. So for me, actually, that does put me off.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Like I tend to agree if you don't see the emblem.
If I'm trying to buy a rookie and their rookie year was 17-18, and I know that product is from 17-18, but it doesn't have an emblem on it, I'll actually I might put it into my watch list, but I'll keep going to try and find something else. And the classic one for me in that is iMac. Some of the iMac stuff has the emblem. Mm-hmm. And the other product too that's a little bit like that is NT. NT sometimes does that too with the horizontal ones.
Some don't have the rookie logo, some do. Yeah.
Like, if that just had the rookie, emblem, I wouldn't mind that, but I don't know. I'm probably being too particular there. Sorry, mate. I segued you.
No. Look, it's probably something we could ask on the socials and see if people gives an opinion.
Yeah.
As far as, and I think it is a little bit off-putting. When did the rookie logo come in? No, this is going to segue me way too hard.
Yeah,
Kawhi Leonard last sold for $523 US.
Is that silver or base, mate?
That is a base PSA 10.
Is that a buy, a sell, or a hold for you at that price?
That is a sell for me at that price at the base.
Yeah.
Population's only 1,100.
Yeah.
Now, whoa, okay. Population of 40, PSA 10 Prism Silver. No recent sales, but last sold for 9,840. And that was back in August.
Yeah, he's in the big boy category, isn't he? He's
definitely
not a casual collector, thing anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. Kawhi Leonard, it's let's go to Raw, right?
And maybe that's also the truth about him too. It's almost like if he retires tomorrow, he's got enough cachet that it's okay.
Yeah. A couple of finals MVPs, a couple of titles. He's does it with the Clippers, that's 3 teams.
Yeah.
Look at his base. His base Raw has gone up a little bit. Last sold for $142.50. And that was only a week ago.
Okay.
So that's actually on the spike. So maybe the rumors of somebody returning for the playoffs are sparking a bit of a run.
Yeah.
Could the Clippers? Yeah. Could the Clippers come from outside the playoff picture to NBA champions? That's going to cement Kawhi's legacy. If he comes back and carries them from outside of 8th to the top of the mountain, well, that's a narrative. That's definitely a narrative. But that said, the Clippers have never made it to the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
And yeah. So there's a long way to go before history is made.
Yeah.
Yes. Speaking of the other end of the mountain, I don't know. Are there any young Clippers that we want to talk about before we go skyrocketing up to the top?
I was just going to really quickly touch on Reggie Jackson because he's the prospect that I like the most.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of that is because I think when he was in OKC, there was a certain amount of expectation around him. My recollection was he got traded to Detroit and that really, didn't end well. But how much of that was to do with, Stan Van Gundy and that sort of whole situation? So for me, I feel like he's really, fallen off the deep end. And then his career has actually really recovered nicely for the Clippers. And
yeah,
in some ways, I think he's like very underpaid in terms of NBA salary. So I like those sort of, reclamation projects, and I would definitely put him into that, category here. I'm just having a look at some of his rookie stuff. There's a numbered timeless treasures that recently sold for $32.50.
Because he's not on card ladder. Can I do the visual gag?
He is on card ladder, but there's another Reggie Jackson on there who's like a baseball player, and there's like a million Reggie Jacksons. But I found one that sold.
I was going to say, I've got that up on the screen at the moment. It's the Reggie Jackson, the baseballer.
Yeah.
Last sold for $1 million.
Not that Reggie Jackson. Yeah.
That's a buy or a sell. That's a sell for me. If I had that, I'd be selling.
Yeah. So, but if you go more and then keep scrolling down, you will find one.
Okay.
Yeah. What I was going to say though, so yeah, I think that's really nice. Now, the actually really interesting sort of little tidbit here is that he was a 12-13 rookie, which is the first year Prism.
Oh,
So if you believe in first year Prism that, long term that's going to be like a little bit of a keeper, and, if you're looking for a little bit of a dark horse that, might come good in a couple of years, like Reggie Jackson last sold for 99 cents for his base Prism rookie card. No rookie emblem.
it
Yeah.
makes it tough. It makes it tough with the no rookie emblem.
I'm okay with that though for like a bit of a flyer. I'm
Yeah,
fine with that.
yeah,
Yeah, a couple of bucks here or there, something like that. That's fine. All right,
yeah.
that's it. I
All right.
think so one of the goals from this show is that we wanted to not do all the major teams all the time. So despite the fact we talk about the Lakers every episode,
No matter how much they suck, right?
we do want to talk about all the different teams. So actually we've ticked off 2 more teams this week we haven't spoken about on this show. So we just ticked off Clippers and Suns.
But we haven't talked about the Suns yet.
Haven't we?
No, not yet.
Okay, let's talk about the Suns now.
I said we were going to talk about the Suns.
Let's do it.
Let's go north. Let's go to the sun, not to the moon, to the sun.
Yeah, so why are we talking about the Suns? I think that's why we should start there.
Because they are on top of the league by a country mile.
Yeah. And I think if you're a casual NBA fan that's not really following it that much, and even like I'm guilty of this myself, I don't sit there and study the standings every day, but they're 8 games ahead at the moment. Like that is huge. And they've had injuries, they've had Chris Paul out, the whole thing. So
I'm gonna backtrack just quickly to the Clippers because our lovely friend MacGyver in the chat has made a comment. Apparently, you can purchase a $100 fusion card of Reggie Jackson for $100 on eBay. Then followed that with, "Damn, those cards are terrible."
Do you mean Jersey Fusion?
Jersey Fusion, yes, that's
God.
right. The fact that there's a Jersey Fusion of Reggie Jackson is quite laughable. But anyway, onto the Suns.
Yeah, that product is an abomination. Yeah.
These guys are on top of the world. Do you think the owner of the Suns is regretting not extending DeAndre Ayton at the start of the season?
To answer your question, no, I don't think he regrets it because he looks at the bottom line, not at team success.
Okay. Because they might lose Ayton to it.
I'm convinced of that. What he did to that Steve Nash team back in the day, breaking up Quentin Richardson and Joe Johnson, like they had the championship.
That's true.
They just had to pay for it. Anyway, whatever. Off we go. So, all right, where do you think that the hobby value stands with the Phoenix Suns?
There is a gentleman by the name of Devin Booker.
Yeah, I think we have to talk about Book because he realistically should be named in the MVP conversation this year.
Agreed.
And I personally believe that if he's not in the top 3, there's something wrong with the voting system because if we've always traditionally tied MVP voting to performance and team performance, there's no excuse for him not to be in this conversation.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid point, especially because not that he doesn't deserve his spot there.
Yeah,
but Jokic is in the MVP discussion, and the Denver Nuggets are on the verge of being in the play-in tournament. So I don't know. The Suns have been at the top and been a country mile ahead of everyone all season. And Devin Booker is a key reason. So yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah, I think where in my mind the narrative changed for Booker for me was that I genuinely felt that Chris Paul was contributing to his success dramatically,
and
I felt the same way about the big fella DeAndre Ayton. But then
it was all Chris Paul.
Well, not all of it, but let's say 30%.
Chris Paul improved them to a certain extent. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
And Chris Paul's done that in his career. He really has improved people. Like he made
what he did in OKC.
Yeah, that's right. He took that team to the playoffs. I think, when someone does that, you're kind of like, well, hang on a second. How actually good at basketball is this guy? Well, he's amazing, right?
How good is he? How good do you have to be to make other people that good?
That good, yeah.
Yeah.
On a team that was trying to lose.
Correct.
Yeah. So, my thing with Book is so Chris Paul's been out and then he was playing essentially point guard for that team. He played really good basketball and he played winning basketball. And I think that's the difference between maybe where I felt on him 1 year ago or 2 years ago is that he was just like a really good basketball player but wasn't a winner. Whereas now it's obvious in my mind he's a really good basketball player that's gotten better and he's also a winner. So, for me, in terms of hobby value and, buying this guy into the future, I think it's okay to buy this guy up. I think the problem is that even his base prices are very high.
That's true. He's what are we
So,
looking at the moment? We're looking at the
yeah,
base PSA 10.
yeah. What's the price on that, man?
Well, last sold for 580 US. So
Yeah. So
you're
for a
looking for a
base,
cheap Devin Booker rookie.
yeah,
Yeah, you probably missed the boat.
yeah. So how old do you think this guy is? And no cheating, by the way.
Devin Booker,
Yeah,
mid-20s.
yeah. He's 25. So he came into the league when he was 19, and I think this is the
That was the
whole.
big thing, wasn't it? It was
Yeah.
like
And he's also a Kentucky kid. And we've spoke about like Kentucky prospects, already in the past, how that they just go to these absolutely loaded teams and they just don't get the chance to play. So I think that in combination with him coming to the league, early, it kind of makes sense now you look back on it and why he has taken a little bit of time to progress. But yeah, I think in
wow.
terms of, buy, hold and sell, look, I probably think for me at the moment he's a hold because I don't really feel that comfortable in spending that much money on a base card.
Yeah. What
And I think,
about all right? So I've just been looking through Devin Booker rookie stuff,
yeah. And I
and
think also a
yeah.
silver
Sorry.
is, no, I was going to say a silver is 3,000 and pragmatically, we just spoke about this with this sort of like, ultra modern sort of recency bias. I don't really want to spend 3,000 on someone that is really, really good, but not an all timer.
I
Yeah.
I'm curious. So I'm looking at Prism PSA 10, and the four options are base silver,
Yeah.
auto,
Hmm.
and autograph to 65.
Yeah, sure.
Now, sure, autographed number to 65, the orange, which looks amazing given
Yeah.
it's Phoenix, is last sold for 8,600 in
Yeah.
November last year.
That's a sticker auto too, man.
Is it really? Holy. Anyway, Silver Prism, $3,000. Autograph, be it a sticker auto, which is a bit disappointing.
Well, mine's actually saying last sold is 8,600.
Yeah, that's for the 65. That's
Yeah.
the number to 65, yeah?
Sorry, mate. I lost you for a second.
Yep, 8,600 for the auto to 65. The
Yeah.
normal auto, 1,758. Less than 2,000 for a rookie auto versus the Silver Prism, which is 3,000.
The crazy thing is, as much as I think this is too high risk for me to dabble in, he probably has still got room to move up. Because if he gets named MVP or he gets put into the MVP conversation or they win the championship, that could go nuts.
It's pretty crazy to think about. Like I'm just seeing like it's almost half the price of the Silver Prism and it's got his autograph on it.
Yeah, the whole thing with silvers, you can't think of it in terms of rarity or scarcity or logic. Because
you should have led with logic. We just can't look. It isn't. You're right. It's like Topps Chrome.
So fast breaks, there's less fast breaks than silvers, but they sell for half the price.
Yeah.
Ruby waves look really good when they color match. There's 50% less of those than silvers, but they still sell for 75 less of the price of a silver. Do you know what I mean?
Imagine getting the base orange to 65.
Yeah. So the reason why they sell so good is because everyone loves them. It's literally as simple as that. And you have to sort of take the logical thought process out of it. Like,
yeah,
they're not numbered. They're not short, they're short printed, but they're not, super short print or something like this. And they just look sick and they look even better when they're slabbed. Like, it's just as simple as that. Yeah.
So we have another question. Geez, Jake's on fire tonight.
Thanks, Jake. We appreciate it, buddy.
Does relations with Kendall Jenner increase or decrease an NBA player's card value?
I think if it was a Kardashian, it plummets your card value, but apparently the Jenners are like really good for you.
Tell that to Ben.
Well, maybe this is why.
Yeah, it could be a Devin Booker thing where it's yeah.
He loses his Jenner and then he loses his mojo. Like maybe she was really good for like pumping him up, making him feel good.
But yes, what a question. Yeah, look, I think maybe it has an impact. Maybe it has a short-term impact. There's the answer for Jake on that one. But geez, D Book, do you really think there's room to move on the ceiling here?
Yeah, I think so.
Get an MVP up his sleeve, and he's only 25. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's right, isn't it? So I think I need to make a caveat here. I think if he gets named MVP, that is unlikely, but I think it's also disrespectful to him to not mention him in the MVP conversation. But I think
About Finals MVP.
more pragmatically, I think they've got a really good chance to win a
Mm.
chip, because the league at the moment, there is so much sort of turmoil happening, particularly in the East. There's no one in my mind that's particularly that clear on coming out of the East.
Yeah.
And if they can get out through the West again, well, then, maybe they can learn from their mistakes of last year and, and come through. And you see that with teams, it just takes them a little while to go over the hump. And, Chris Paul's been into every battle imaginable. So
Chris Paul is the veteran of veterans.
So I don't think we should do the Phoenix Suns and not discuss Chris Paul. So
That's fair enough.
who else? There's one more I want to talk about too, but let's do Chris Paul really quickly.
All
So
right, let's look up some Chris Paul stats.
yeah,
All right.
you are gonna love this. So Chris Paul rookie cards at Topps Chrome. This is like right up your alley.
Oh, I love it.
All right.
Love it.
I'm going to play. Don't look up his prices. Let's play a guessing game. What do you think his Topps Chrome base card PSA 10 sells for?
PSA 10?
Yeah.
Base.
Keep it in mind what book sold for.
Book sold for like 500, almost 600 for the base, yeah?
Yeah.
Because of the length of Chris Paul's career,
yeah,
I'm going to say a lot less. I'd say 200 to 300.
Okay. Last sold for 615.
What the? Damn it.
No, I think your thought process, like, that's like really legit. And I think that's like, but at the same time,
I just don't know.
Chris Paul has had a Hall of Fame career. Like this should be double. And I think,
yeah, well, that's the thing though. How often in his illustrious career, right? Over, say, at least the last 15 years, have you heard of people on NBA groups screaming out for Chris Paul cards?
No, he's not that collectible.
That's what I mean. Like, it's...
But I would also say too, this guy has rubbed me the wrong way so many times over the years. But in the last 12 months, do you think he's kind of like chilled out a little bit and
he's that's
not
an interesting
causing
one.
as much on-court sort of niggle? And because when I watch him now, I don't feel agitated. I don't feel mad. You know what I mean? Like, actually,
yeah,
I don't mind watching this dude play basketball now. So I'm not too sure if that's me, I've changed, or has Chris Paul actually changed his behavior a little bit. And
that's
he's actually down 12% the last 3 months.
Jeez. Wow.
He's down 20% the last month, and the last 2 weeks he's down 18%. So
yeah,
it's not like, he's come back from injury and he's spiked up. But would you
buy? What does he need to do to increase his market present? Because I think he's done all he can.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah,
he hasn't won a championship, has he?
But does that put him on the map? Does that make him more desirable to collectors?
I think so.
Yeah, it's tricky.
I think the Karl Malones and the John Stocktons and the Charles Barkleys, are probably cheaper, in the bigger picture. Yeah. So the two prospects that come to my mind with the Phoenix Suns is Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson.
Yeah, let's do some prospecting because I'm interested in Ayton, but I think let's have a look at the young ones. I think
we can talk about Ayton, but I think in my mind they're kind of like a bit more of a riskier, prospecting choice. And I think 12. So I've got a little bit of both, and I'm not trying to pump up either or the either. But I personally thought Cam Johnson was going to have the better career out of Bridges. I always felt Bridges was a little bit sort of too mechanical and needed other people to do shot creation for him. But his growth the last 12 months has been, in my mind, exponential, and he's overtaken Cam Johnson. So at the moment, if I'm choosing between those two, I'm buying Bridges. The super interesting thing for me is this. His base PSA 10s are selling for $32. That to me is like...
That's a buy?
That is a buy A+. And his silvers are 93. Interestingly, he's up 15% too. So at 93,
he's definitely up.
Yeah, and his base is up 30%. So yeah, I think if you're looking for a quick flip going into the playoffs and the finals, I think Bridges is like A+.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
his pricing is and I'm just sort of comparing the two now, but I'm looking at, because he's the same year as Ayton.
Yeah, that's right.
And they're literally like last sold Ayton, and I'm just comparing.
Yeah, what did Ayton last sell for, man?
$36.70.
Really?
Yeah, they're almost the same, except there's about 5,000 more DeAndre Aytons in the base side of it, population wise. Silver wise is where the value is for
That's so
sure.
interesting, isn't it? Particularly because he was drafted so high.
Yeah,
That's such the bias against big guys, isn't it? I mean, what else can you put that down to?
yeah, yeah. Look. Ayton didn't really sort of impress anybody until I think it was when the playoffs last year was when he really started to stand up.
Well, when Chris Paul came on board, because
Yeah,
he
exactly.
really looks after bigs. But I think for me, his defense on Giannis was really good last
That
year.
was critical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that Giannis is in that space now where there's nothing you can really do to stop him, but there's things you can kind of do to like
Mm.
slow the man down. And I feel like Aiton realistically gave them the best opportunity to at least put a body on him and slow him down. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, I think there's not that many people that can guard Giannis is what I'm getting to. So he's in that stratosphere for me in terms of being like
Yep.
an elite defender. And I'm going to do another. This is my second backflip this show. I think Aiton's a really good buy. If you're asking me, if they're the same price, Aiton and Bridges, like
Yeah.
you can't kid yourself. What's the better purchase?
Yeah, Aiton. Yeah, I don't know. There is a lot. I wouldn't be buying the base.
Okay.
Would be my comment, just because the populations. There's more Aiton tens, PSA tens, than there are Jayson Tatum's.
Yeah, but
Just to really contextualize it, there's almost 6,000 tens.
but I think that's it's two
It's the
things.
release. It's
It's the year release, and we spoke about this or about the print run of that. I genuinely think the print run on 17-18 is not that much
yeah.
in comparison.
In
And then
comparison,
also
yeah.
too, PSA grading became popular around that time too, and so
True.
that's
Yeah.
the two things that's in play there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I think for 140 US, a silver prism of Aiton, I think that's great value.
you're right. I think in this instance, you're giving much better advice than what I am.
Like, I mean, Mikal Bridges, $93 last sold for the silver prism.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't given terrible advice, but yeah, I think you're on par here. I just
like
really like Bridges as a prospect, but then when you do say it like that,
you buy. I be
they're the same
Aiton's
price.
a buy. Aiton's a buy, and Bridges is still. You feel like you've missed the bus if you're prospecting.
Do you think so?
You look at the dips, right? You look at the dips of the silver prism. The lucky buggers that bought Bridges at 48 and 53 US.
Yeah, yeah. They've done well for themselves,
They've
definitely.
done very well for
That's
themselves.
a really nice buy. Look,
The
the
ones that
reason
are paying over 100 US for it, I think
that's a tough
maybe
ask. Yeah.
maybe buying at the peak.
Yeah.
We don't know. He's a prospect. He could like Phoenix might be all of a sudden absolute geniuses, and they've re-signed the right person, and on DeAndre Ayton plummets.
I mean,
That's why I guess why we prospect though.
but I think the reason I like Bridges as a prospect is because he's also got enough time under his belt that he has
Mm.
proven he's a good player. You know what I mean? He's not some dude at the end of the bench we're prospecting like, and this guy's going to be playing.
He's been through his trials
Yeah,
effectively.
and he's
Yeah,
going to
that's
be
fair.
playing significant minutes on a finals team. Like, let's be honest here. Like, he's really important to that. That
Oh,
team as a cog.
and they are gonna look. All things going according to plan, they're going deep into the playoffs.
Yeah, and they need him to play well to go deep. Like,
Yep, for
it's as
sure.
simple as that. So I think that's why I do like him as a prospect. That is sobering to hear how far Aiton's come down, though, isn't it? Like that's shocking in many ways.
He was huge.
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
not just in size, but I mean price wise, prospect.
I
Yeah,
think we've covered everything on the sheet, mate, and we're just about to tick over to an hour and a half. So
I definitely think I've caught up for being absent last week for sure.
can we talk about our next episode? Because it is kind of exciting. Our next episode.
Look, yeah, I'll hand this one over to you. You've done all the groundwork here.
Well,
Yeah, we've got
we
another
do
one
it
coming
together.
up.
So our next episode is slated to be recorded tomorrow night, and it's someone is actually very special to me, like personally. So it's Brian Forsman. He is a US breaker, and his break page is called Beast and Big Breaks Basketball. In terms of a person in the hobby, I just think a lot of Brian as a person, and in terms of a breaker, I look up to him a lot. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you, I was quite intimidated sort of, reaching out to him. And now I think about it, it's a bit silly to sort of say because he was just the most friendly and he couldn't wait to get on and, come and say hi to us. So, yeah, that's our next episode. And I just can't wait to do this and get him on. So we'll be recording that late tomorrow night, like 10 p.m. our time. I think that's right. I think you're right.
Well, I hope it's 10 p.m. because there's got to be some benefit to daylight savings.
Yeah.
11 p.m. Oh, no.
Yeah, it is brutal with the time change because
It is
11 p.m. our time and like 8 a.m. his time. So
yeah. So he's gonna be have his morning coffee.
Yeah.
And we're going to be half asleep. It's going to be fantastic.
I think we should drink some Red Bull or some V or something like that.
My God, I'll pull an all-nighter. It's going to be great. No, I think it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, give you an opportunity to fanboy a little bit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
But it should be a lot of fun. It should be a heap of fun.
Yeah.
And looking forward to it. Hopefully it's a good listen. Yeah. I don't know if we will stream it yet. We'll have a think.
Yeah, see how it goes, eh?
If anyone wants to get an exclusive, they might get a sneak peek at it tomorrow night, late night on Twitch. But we'll discuss before then.
Not late night breaks, late night podcasts.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. No, it's gonna be good. And I think we've covered quite a bit today. We've got the NBA playoffs not far away.
Crept up on us.
Lots happening.
Yeah,
lots happening. Awesome.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Ad, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Let's give a quick shout out to the socials. You Can't Comp This. There is a Facebook group.
Yep.
All you need to do is search up You Can't Comp This. There should be a group you'll be able to find.
You will find us.
At You Can't Comp This on Twitter.
Yep.
It's You Can't Comp This is also the Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Where else are we?
Gmail,
yep. Now, look, if Jake's still watching, if you also want to set records for the first question on stream and via email, it's youcantcompthis@gmail.com.
And you get your own episode, Jake. No, should we call him MacGyver?
We'll call it the MacGyver episode. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about, MacGyver. Yeah, and then if you do want to catch the show live, ADZ7281 on Twitch is my channel where we stream it. Also, if you jump on YouTube, we'll put the link because there's just way too many letters, numbers, and characters to give us the actual YouTube hot link. But if you search for You Can't Comp This, you should be able to find us on YouTube.
Yeah. You've done a great job with all the social stuff, mate. It looks really good. So thanks for doing that.
Oh, no worries. And once again, big thanks again to our sponsor. Slabbed Cards.
Yeah.
Now, remember to remove one of the B's and the E. So we will put links in the show notes just to make sure that anyone that does want to check out Slabbed can get onto their website and put their submissions through.
Yeah. Awesome, big fella. Thank you so much.
Pleasure as always.
Yeah.
Well, I'll catch up with you tomorrow night, and the listeners will probably hear from us next week.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thanks, guys.